welcome to the Intuitive Eating and Body Positivity podcast. I'm Terry and I'll be talking about all things intuitive eating, body positivity and health at every size, and shaking off weight stigma, diet culture and food rules so that we can all have a better relationship with food and our bodies. Let me just start by saying welcome to Sophia. Sophia is a long-standing member of my Eat From Within membership and a personal coaching client, and is no longer working with me because she's had this glorious journey through intuitive eating and no longer needs it, which is brilliant. And for those of you who are long-term Eat From Within members who are thinking, I don't remember anybody called Sophia in my membership, let me just say that this is a stage name, if you will, just to protect identity, because we like anonymity in our membership and we don't kind of share personal stuff outside. So that's why, if you're a member, you don't recognize the name. So, Sophia, welcome.
Hi, Terry. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. I just absolutely love your story, and I think there's loads in there for people to take from. So give us a bit of an introduction. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm quite excited to share it. So I'm in my early 50s and most of my life is great and has been great, apart from food. So, you know, I've got a job, husband, lovely family and everything. So it's, you know, I would say, well, it'd be 40 years now since I started having problems with food. And I had problems in my childhood, quite, you know, abusive and one thing and another. And that led me to food, which was, what can you get at 12 years old and onwards that you can use to sort of cover up things and escape. And then I got in the treadmill of dieting and every diet you'll have heard of, and very unhealthy ones, as well as, in brackets, dare I say, healthy supposed diets as well. And been looking for alternatives and ways out of it, probably for, when I realised it wasn't good for me, that's probably, you know, 25 years ago, that I just thought I need an alternative. And so it has taken a long time, but I don't think it's about necessarily taking a long time. It's about finding the right support and the right information. And things have changed a lot, you know, in the last 10, 20 years in people's, particularly for women, approaches to food and views of women's bodies and things, which is good. So it's probably the right time, as well as, you know, I've managed to get the right information and support for it.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? There's stuff that happens in our life that makes us rely on food. That's normal for a lot of people. There's lots of reasons why we would turn to food as a comfort and as a support and as something we can control. There's loads of reasons. And even if you don't feel like you have major issues with food, it's so easy to fall into dieting. And like you say, it took you a little while to find something that you needed to do and a change that you needed to make. But you don't know when you're deep in it for such a long time that that's what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people will resonate with the fact that dieting isn't so difficult when you start, and then it gets harder every time, and you can stick at it for shorter periods, probably because that's your body protecting you in a good way. And then inevitably, you know, you will eat a lot more when you come off the diet, whatever you're following, and then there's the guilt, and then I think that's what leads for some people to self-hate, hurting yourself mentally because of your lack of so-called willpower, when actually it's your body saying, feed me, I need sustenance to survive. And hate of your body, for me, because that was the barometer of how well I was doing, whether it was getting smaller. And regardless of what size it was when I started a particular diet, it was, you know, that was my barometer of day-to-day happiness. And, you know, that's not a good way to be. So I think for me, and the worst, in a way, I still feel shocked that I'm out of the cycle that was every day waking up. And it is like an addiction. So every day waking up, and you know, when you have that memory of I'm awake and you remember what yesterday was, and whether it had been a good, in inverted commas, eating day or a bad one. And then the associated anxiety or exhilaration would come in. And then regardless of what it was, good or bad in my mind, I would start rigorously planning the day in my mind in terms of eating, and can I get away not eating till now? Have I got an event where there's going to be a buffet or a party or a birthday cake? And the real anxiety and pain that went with that, which to people who are not in this, it may seem unusual, and not something that most people would recognise or resonate with. So that was all encompassing, and now I feel like there's all this space to fill this freedom. So you still have the life ups and downs, things not working and work being stressful and one thing and another, and general things, and arguments with your family or whatever. But it was like there was this overshadowing negativity totally around my relationship with food and obsession with food, in a way that just wasn't healthy. And it's in some ways it's amazing how long some of us survive with that day to day. And I don't mean we're not going to survive, but what I mean is we don't recognise really how deep we are in it. I think it's like you said, you don't realise when you're deep in it till you come out of it. And I hope everybody and people that are listening that can recognise it is possible, because I really believed it wasn't. And I think when I first started talking to you, Terry, you probably realised that I didn't believe you were going to be able to help me at all, or there was anything I could do.
No, it's the story for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
Yeah, right at the beginning, I don't think anybody really believes that there is a way out. Like you say, I don't think anybody really believes that they're fixable, that their issues will ever be resolved, that they will ever find a way to be relaxed around food and to appreciate their body. But you're one of many, many people that are testament to the fact that you can.
Yeah, exactly. And if you'd have said that to me before about other people being able to do it, I'd have been thinking, oh, well, they can do it, but I can't because I'm especially bad, which is silly really when I look back at it. And I think that a lot of it is to do with self-trust. And I think a lot of people, and again, specifically women, but not always women, you hear that line that, I'm capable in my job, I've got a reasonably good job, I've progressed, I can manage day-to-day things, I can multitask, I can, make things work, I can do my hair, put on makeup, do everything, but I can't handle this one thing. And it seems strange, but really it is your body and your mind fighting you, and for the right reasons, that it's just not good for you, which is, I think, the missing piece. That other things that you manage in your life, like you might persuade yourself to stay working till 9 o'clock at night to get a report done that needs to be in the next day. You might detest it, but you can give yourself that oomph to do it because it's worthwhile, and you can relax the next day or something. But with food, I think your body's pushing back in every way, and that's why it's so difficult to control in that real forced way when you can do it naturally. And that's the big thing, the whole words intuitive eating. And I read the book years ago, I think when the first edition came out, and I was like, oh, these 10 steps, it's too complicated, and again, I can't do it, and one thing and another, and wanting to race to the end and think, oh, I'll just do the gentle nutrition because that's like a diet, things like that, and really not, and it's much simpler than that, and I think I said to you that it does feel like a bit like, being in a swimming pool with inflatable armbands on, or being on a bike with stabilising wheels and scared to take them off. So you need a written food plan, or you need to be giving up carbs, or you need to be, someone writing you out and weighing you every week. But if you just let go, like taking off the armbands when you've been swimming for a while, you will float, and you can ride the bike. And the word intuitive eating is exactly it. It's just about trusting that food, once it stops being an obsessive excitement in your life, you might have a bit like a hamster when it gets off a wheel, it keeps going for a while. So there might be that period where it seems like the most exciting thing, but actually now, in a way, you slightly miss the excitement of the food because, you can go in a shop and look at any food, whether it's cakes, ice cream, packet of ham, lettuce, and it's just there, it's just food. And It is incredible. It is. It's not short of astounding, I would say. And I know I sound like I'm over-egging it here, but it is just not such a big thing in your life. And, you know, I've occasionally forgotten that I'm hungry, which isn't great because you want to eat, but never done that before. You know, I'd be counting the minutes to whenever my designated weighed, measured snack or meal was. But, you know, not anymore. Definitely not.
Would you say that was it for you? Were you excited by food before?
I think so. Yeah, it was. It was like a kid at Christmas. Like, well, it was excited and hate. It was the ultimate love-hate relationship. So, if I'd be excited that I'd only eaten the specific foods, you know, in the 80s it'd have been cottage cheese and lettuce, and then later on it had changed to whatever the diet food was. But then also excited when I felt I'd fallen off the wagon if I was going to an event and there'd be a buffet and cakes and that, you know, it was almost overwhelming. So, you know, parties or, you know, events with food, whether it's a work event, I didn't remember any of the people or the conversations, or I'd avoid them just to get back to the buffet table if I met. And that's sad, you know, sad in the old-fashioned way, you know, as in, you know, it's really sad to think someone's doing that and, you know, not engaging with the situation and other people and just enjoying it and just thinking about food and one thing and another. So, yeah, I think I was excited by it and now I'm not, but it's fine. But you can still have that appreciation. There's a difference between obsessive and excitement and feeling hungry and looking at a menu and think, what do I fancy? And, you know, either not looking for the healthiest or not looking for the richest, as in, you know, the richest food that you can get because you're not, and just actually really thinking, what do I want? And I think one good thing to mention is you can still have food rules, and I hate using the word rules, but what I mean is, so for example, someone who's vegetarian, you know, you're not going to think of eating animals. And that is a different relationship, or if you've got an allergy, to denying food because it's that control thing. So I think you could still think, like, I will not eat a lot of bread at lunchtime or pasta because I know I'll be tired in the afternoon when I've got meetings, but that's not the same thing. You know, you can still make decisions based on how you feel, particularly once you get into the mode of it. You might want to choose foods that you think are going to make you feel better. And again, not reading about them, not looking them up, not seeing what's the world's, you know, the current superfood, which we all know is a bit of a myth in some ways anyway, but just thinking what will make me feel good now, you know. And if it is an evening and you're out for a meal and, you know, you want to have a dessert, well, you know, who cares if you feel tired after it because you're having fun and you're going to go home to bed. So things like that, you know, it's not that, because I know there's some people, practitioners who, the way intuitive eating is put across is very much like eat everything inside it as much as you want. But, you know, and I've looked at that approach, but I find that confusing and also not thinking about you as a whole and your health, if that makes sense. It's about working out what's right for you without denying things, if that's not too complicated.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I think that's why the gentle nutrition aspect is left till quite late in the day with intuitive eating, because if you'd have come to me with these issues with food and your body saying, but I only want to eat healthily, that's right. You know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to eat healthily. But first of all, what we have to do is look at your relationship with food and your relationship with your body. And there's a time and a place in the process to start looking at the nutrition and the health and stuff behind it. It's a funny balance, isn't it? I mean, when you said about eating bread at lunchtime, for example, and how it makes you feel sluggish in the afternoon, I resonate with that. If I have a jacket potato at lunch, I'm asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good thing to recognize. That's part of the intuitive process, is knowing how your body feels with food. But God, I don't know about you, but do you ever remember being on a diet and being unwell and being too worried to have things like throat lozenges and Lemsip and stuff like that because of, you know, the calories and things like that? There's a time and a place to be worried about what you're eating.
Yeah, and the effects of that. And I remember, like, not having cough sweets unless I could find the exact shop that had sugar-free ones, and when they were quite hard to get, and I had to find a Holland and Barrett and things, and it's just, you know, all the time when I'm feeling ill. Yeah, I mean, you know, you can empathise with yourself, yeah. But yeah, the lengths we go to, exactly, yeah. And I think another thing I was going to mention, I was just going to give you an example of a scenario that happened a few months ago with my husband. I think I mentioned this to you. And I'd been through something that was quite personal and traumatic. And I was quite upset and crying and one thing and another. And I thought, I'm not going to work this afternoon. You know, I took the afternoon off work. And I said to my husband, do you know what I want? I want to go to the cafe in the park. And my husband said, okay. So we went up there and I ordered, you know, it was just something off the menu. It was just a meal. I think it was like a vegetarian English breakfast or something. And I really enjoyed it and I didn't finish it. And what was interesting after it, and you know, I came back and I'd said to him, I really enjoyed that, going out, not having to cook, having something that was a bit of a treat. And he said, you know, before you went, I thought I was sort of reverting back into maybe what I would have done, that was, you know, wanting to just eat everything in sight or having 5 desserts or something, you know, slight exaggeration, but not far off. And it was that, what I call destructive eating for me, rather than something that I was genuinely enjoying and acknowledging that I've been through a stressful time and nice food and a treat meal, you know, and it wouldn't matter whether it had been a dessert or a main course. It was the fact that I could eat it, I could be satisfied, I could stop. And it was feeling right for me. And so I thought that was quite interesting that my husband had that feeling. And he was saying, you know, it may have needed what you wanted to do, or a few months ago that would have been what you needed to do. And I just thought, wow, yeah. And I didn't really realise,
Yeah.
you know, so it does affect people around you as well. You know, even if they're empathetic with you, it still does affect other people in your life.
Yeah. And we can have the most supportive friends and family, partners, but, you know, it's not something you can just switch on and off, is it? That's the problem. So as much as we know, well, we might not even know that it's affecting them, but, you know, even if we know that it affects them, it's hard to understand that when you're deep in it, because everything is about, you know, you. I know we had lots of conversations, didn't we, in our time about visits to cafes and things like that. Do you want to share what that might have looked like at the beginning compared to what it looks like now?
Well, yeah, I think it was actually me trying to get you to give me the confidence to go to a cafe, because, you know, putting it bluntly, I would probably go to a cafe and pick the biggest, usually, piece of cake, even if I didn't really like it that much, and then probably get another one to take and have later, and then I'd just avoid it completely. And you know, friends quite rightly think, oh, an afternoon, you know, well, not a whole afternoon, but a couple of hours break in a cafe, whether you're at work or home, can be really nice. But I would be terrified of it and avoid it at all costs. Whereas now, you know, I can take it or leave it and just go in and, you know, maybe have a drink without eating something. And if I did that, I'd feel like I was really missing out, because, you know, somebody's buying, they always go, oh, do you want a cake or a biscuit? And now I can think, no, actually, I don't. And have a nice coffee. And then if you do, that's fine as well. But, you know, and again, it'd overtake the whole interaction of the person I was with, particularly if they did get, you know, a treat with their coffee and things like that. So, and yeah, it was funny, we did have quite a lot of chats about that, didn't we? And then trying it in different ways, trying to enjoy it and allow myself gradually to you know, eat something because I wanted it and I was allowed it and it was a treat, but that's fine. And, you know, how much of it, but I really got stuck with how much of it I should be eating, you know, whether I wanted it all or not. It was all that, you know, and that was the lack of trust of myself and the lack of the intuition in my eating, definitely.
Did you find that frustrating? Because for me as the coach, I could see that you were making such excellent progress and you were making all these steps forward, and there was a little bit of progress each time.
Yeah.
Did you find the process frustrating?
Interestingly, I don't think I did, because I was so grateful for any progress and didn't think it was going to work anyway. For me, not about you, not giving the right guidance, that I didn't see it as frustrating. I just saw it as sort of exploratory. And the fact that any progress was so amazing. So that's interesting. So maybe some people would, but no, that's the way I saw it. Yeah.
That's really good. I'm really pleased. Yeah, like you say, some people would find it frustrating and think that, there needs to be major strides in progress. But what you've said is right. Any progress is progress, and you've just got to take these baby steps towards feeling more comfortable.
Yeah. I think another thing that's, linked with this as well is, we all like to look nice and as good as we can. And that isn't linked to, whatever your ideal view of what, or maybe old ideal view of what a body shape and size should be, whether that's based on media or, sometimes I hear from people it's the mother's influence or, someone else in the family. But so I would, if I was feeling, the way I saw myself from one day to the other, and it's probably, body dysmorphia is the way of describing it, depending on what I was eating. The same body in the mirror would look horrific to me the day after I'd eaten something I thought I shouldn't. And again, that's really sad for people if they also experience that. And, I would make an effort to get ready, but what seems now really obscure to me, I'd feel paranoid on like public transport. I wouldn't want to catch eyes with anybody, which, when I look back at it, I think, wow, that was really unusual in a way. I'm trying to be polite to myself. I probably think a lot worse than that. But really, that the way that how your body looks becomes less important. It's more about within your budget, what can you buy, whether it's from Vinted or Sainsbury's or Versace. I'm not Versace, by the way. Something that suits you and you like, and you could put makeup on, do your hair or not, but that confidence and that who you are isn't based on your body shape and size and whether you're a bit bloated because you haven't eaten for ages and suddenly you eat a lot and things, and other people don't see it. And there's always people who make comments about how people look. Well, you look really nice, or you've lost weight, or they won't mention when you put on weight, one thing or another. But really, none of that matters to you, at least when you get to that stage, because it might be saying something about them and their insecurities about how they look, and we all know that. But it still can be quite hard to grasp, but when you're in that position that you really know it's not important and it's not who you are. And usually how the majority of people see you, it doesn't matter. And I don't think it matters, as people be aware, it's not whatever size you are as well. So it's not like, oh, well, it's easy for someone who's smaller or not. It's about the perception of yourself, I think. And that's another important shift, as well as the food relationship. It's that. That's really important.
Where do you think you sat on the sidelines in your own life when you were feeling like that? What did you miss out on, or what did you not take part in, that sort of thing? What do you think?
I'd sometimes not take up invitations for nights out or meals out, just from sheer fear of the menu, even if you can check the menu in advance. I'd even do things that were risky. And when I'm saying risky, like I'd be late, quite considerably late for work meetings because I wanted to go and eat more. And that, I was thinking at the time, what are you doing? You're making, basically lying at the beginning of a meeting because I couldn't not do that. And things like that. So probably, stripping off in summer or going in a swimming pool or something like that. And, just because of how I felt about myself, and or even going for a gym session on a day where I think, I was having a day where I'd eaten a bit too much, and so that meant, or in my mind I'd eaten too much, so it made me feel unappealing, and you shouldn't be in a gym, you've messed up, you shouldn't be doing anything positive for yourself. So quite a lot really when I think about it.
Weeds its way into everything, doesn't it? The way we feel about ourselves. And you look back and you think, actually, you wouldn't want a friend or a loved one, you wouldn't want them to miss out on those things. Yet you think it's okay for yourself when you feel like that. It's almost like you think it's the best thing for all involved if I just don't go.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing I've sort of learned and picked up, from your support, but other, support from other people have spoken to, one thing or another, but is the way that you talk to yourself is crucial. And I think that whole concept of, if you were a little toddler that you're looking down at, would you talk to yourself like that? You wouldn't. and almost talking to yourself like that in your mind. When you do something that you think is irrational or bad, or because there's a reason you're doing it. For me and many people, it's because I've probably been restricting food and my body was reacting back and my mind had got stuck in a certain way of thinking. But treating yourself badly because of it isn't helping, and it doesn't help you to get out of it. It doesn't help at all. Quite the opposite.
No. So what did you find easy about, well, I don't know, did you find anything easy about the process? But what did you find easy? What did you not find easy about the whole process?
In terms of the way I felt, not using the word easy, but actually looking forward to chatting to you in the sessions we had booked, but also really enjoying the group sessions, because it's knowing other people are in the same boat. And after you get that, should I put my camera on and when should I speak in the first one, it becomes, relaxed and friendly and you're focusing on a certain topic and things like that. In terms of easy, I suppose the fact that there was no recording of food, weighing of food, measuring food, getting a shopping list that costs a fortune and throwing everything out that you had before and wasting food. So that was easy, definitely. That was such a relief and easy that, and let's be honest, every one of us, particularly those of us that have been dying, know what a healthy meal is composed of. And by healthy, I don't mean a diet healthy. I mean, it can be, quite fatty or quite carb-rich or whatever, but you know what a balanced meal is, and you don't need it written down or weighed out. You know what a portion is. And when your body's settled down, it knows when it's full enough. But it also knows if there's something really nice that you like, you might eat a bit more than full. So that's easy as well. That it's not that, that checking in with, am I full yet and things. And I know that does come a bit into intuitive eating, but I know more recently in the book they've relaxed that because people got, and I know you're not necessarily just about the book page by page, but people were getting obsessed with that 1 to 10 hunger scale, whereas now I think they've changed it to do I want, something similar to do I want to eat more, do I not, and one thing or another, because otherwise that becomes that way as well. And it's just natural, you just realise you put your knife and fork down, whether that's finishing your plate or not, and you think, I don't think I want any more of that, or I am going to save myself for cheese and biscuits at the end, or whatever, just because it's natural. It's like in the same way that you don't think about breathing, you just do it. It becomes like that with food, and I would think and hope that everybody listening to this isn't in a situation where you're in food poverty or you can't get access to food. So in some ways we are quite lucky, but you don't appreciate that, and you don't realise that abundance of food can make your life really easy, because you can choose what you want when you want and easily get access to it. So yeah, it is. So yeah, those were the easiest bits. Taking away that hideous weighing, measuring, planning, counting, and it takes your brain over. You haven't got time for other things.
No, you just spend your time thinking about food and thinking about exercise, thinking about clothes. Oh yeah, no, there's so much more in life of interest to think about and spend your time wondering about and worrying about and concerned about, or enjoying. Yeah, it's so freeing, right?
Yeah, that's it. It is. It's really freeing. It is like lifting a lead helmet off your head or something. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, this is just what it should be like. And it is possible. I think I know I sound like some infomercial from the 1990s or something, but it is possible. It is possible for you too. If I can do it, you can. It is, but I really believe that.
Say you were talking to somebody who was considering intuitive eating, or considering working on their body, or even considering going on another diet. What do you think the best piece of advice or a message would be for somebody just starting out? I've put you on the spot now, haven't I?
Yes. So, I suppose I'd try and find out what stage they're at. So if it was someone who'd never embarked on trying to eat healthily or being on a diet, or, depending on their reasons, I think I'd sort of want to say to them, be careful if you're following a traditional, and when I say traditional, like getting into one of the slimming clubs or something like that, because of how it can become all-encompassing and negative. And I would say to people, maybe look at what food means to you day to day and why it means that. And is there something there? Is it that without realising it, you've been thinking for ages that, oh, I need to change what I eat. So everything you do eat is loaded with guilt, which can, I think, push you to maybe not caring about what you eat and eating the wrong things. Whereas if you just lighten that up and you're not there thinking, oh, I need to change my weight, I need to eat differently, I need to do this, I need to lose weight, and it's a bit like to talk to people about exercise. You know, if you think, oh, I'm going to start exercising and that's 7 days a week running for an hour and you've never walked out of, further than the corner shop, it's much easier to say, I'll do a 10-minute round the block before I get to the corner shop. And that's a start. And it's a bit like that in a way that, it's just maybe planning meals and just, thinking a little bit about the foods you're eating. But also I think looking for the guilt. I think that would be the biggest thing for me, looking for the guilt around food, because I think that's the biggest thing.
There's a lot to be said for digging into why you feel the way you feel around food, and that takes a bit of guidance for most people, because if you don't know how to do it, it's really difficult to try and analyse why you feel the way you do about food. But I distinctly remember with you having a few moments where all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, I understand why I think that now.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's so valuable when you can realise where your eating habits and your feelings about your body come from, because it allows you to unpick it and reframe it and put new truths to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose I'm making it sound easy now, but, it took time. But, even starting it was a real positive, right from the outset. And I wouldn't say it was hard work. It was more just, it took time to evolve, I think is the best way of describing it. It wasn't like a real drudgery meeting with you. But,
well, I'm glad you feel like that.
But what I mean is the process wasn't, like whether there was any homework in inverted commas or, just this is what I'm going to try and do this week. It was much better than what I've been doing before, definitely. And you're not on your own. That's the other thing, being on your own. So, even if you are reading the right book on intuitive eating or mindful eating or whatever approach, on your own can be quite lonely. And it's not something you want to share with everybody, is it? It's not like you've taken up knitting and you want to show everybody the first scarf you've made. Oh, sorry, distraction there, sorry.
Oh.
Naughty husband came in. Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, so it's not like you want to show off, what you're doing that's new, because, it can be a bit awkward for you and other people. So,
yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of the groups, actually, that we have, is that when you come in, you can come in and be yourself for an hour. You can talk to the other people who know how you feel. Even if your experiences aren't the same, there is still that common ground of food or body concerns. And it's a space where you can just say what you want to say without worrying about people judging you. Because, like you say, your friends and family, maybe they don't get it.
Yeah. Why would they? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you might find people who have had experiences, but they're telling you to do something that definitely worked for them, and it might not be right for you. And dealing with yourself who's had experiences of lots of people and dealing with other people, you can always find someone to say, oh, well, the only way to deal with this is, and of course, that might not be the only way or the right way for you. So that's another thing about it. No, I'm not saying don't tell other people, but, I still have a friend at work who always, I've got a really good friend, and she'll say, like, don't let her go to any events where there's lots of cake if she's anxious. And she'll still make this joke. And now it's funny, but, I mean, she won't say it everywhere, but, so that was her view of me. Okay.
It's funny, isn't it? And she couldn't possibly know what you had going on with food.
Not at all. No, not at all. Yeah, she just saw it as a fun thing, like, you comfort eat if you're stressed out. But she didn't know the bigger thing. And again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. If you're going to say, oh, I feel like this and I'll take half an hour out, like I said it. But it's when it's part of this whole negative mental process for yourself. And sometimes, almost dare I say self-harm with food. And I know that sounds awful, but I think that's what I could call it for myself at times.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So you had personal coaching with me alongside the membership. So what do you think were the differences between the group and the personal stuff for you?
I mean, I think it's like any situation where a group session is aimed at everyone, and it's really useful in terms of learning and sharing experiences. But of course, there's only so much time, and you may not want to share everything in a group situation, and also you don't want to dominate all the time. So I think that the group can be really beneficial in its own, but the benefit of the personal coaching is that real one-to-one, all about you and your story, and the, I would say, quite accelerated progression from each session to each session. And you're really good, Terry, at like reflecting back on what we discussed last time. And even now you're remembering things I didn't remember about the sessions we had. So I would think, if anybody's thinking, oh, shouldn't I? What else will it give me? I'd definitely recommend it because, and in a way you sort of, owe it to yourself. You deserve it, because it just really makes it relevant to you and your day-to-day issues and life and so on, and your personal issues with food, and you gave us little bits of homework to do, which were good, and try different things. So yeah, that's definitely the benefit.
Yeah, and there is still the option that you had in the membership to have it as a bolt-on. So there's the two tiers. There's the group coaching only, and then there's the group coaching with a half hour a month with me, personal coaching. And I agree. I think it's a really nice mix then, because you've got the support of a group, but you've got dedicated space, half an hour once a month to talk about things.
Yeah, it is. I think that's it. I think that's a perfect mix, as you say, that as in it's not just you and the coach, which still can be isolated because you're the only one who's got the problem. And I use problem in inverted commas again. But when you're in the group, you can see, and there's other people out there, but there's something about being able to see people, hear people. And there's nothing like finding somebody who resonates with the same experience of you. It's almost like being hit by a bolt of lightning. I think I remember nearly being in tears in a couple of the first sessions, just because you think, oh my goodness, it's like coming home. It's like, coming to something. And everybody's situations are slightly different, but, it's rare that you'd have that sort of conversation just by accident with a group of friends. And I know there's always the idea that, it does tend to be women in this space, but not always that women talk more than men. But, you still wouldn't have that naturally. It's the fact that the group had that purpose and people had come together because they wanted to get support for it in terms of intuitive eating. So
Yeah, it's a really lovely space, actually. It's a really nice, like you say, supportive space, and people are free to share and chat. And yeah, it's lovely. Oh, this has been such a do you know, we've been chatting for like 40 minutes already.
it's been lovely. Thank you.
No, thank you. One last question before we stop. Tell me what your absolute favourite food is now.
Oh, I would say a savoury dish with a creamy sauce. And I'm keeping that a bit open there, aren't I? But like last night I had corn fillets with, a creamy milky sauce with mushrooms and onions in. And it's just that, it's a nice treat thing. And it's, and you can have it with veg and everything.
Yeah, that's interesting,
Yeah,
isn't
comfort,
it?
but yeah, the things I thought I loved, probably just because I thought I couldn't have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does change, but yeah, that'd be so. If anybody else will invite me to dinner, there's lots of options there. Creamy sauce.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Oh, do you know what? Thank you so much. Thank you for spending the time talking to me. I think it's really useful for people to hear it from the perspective of somebody who's been through it and experienced it and has come out the other end. Because like you said, you thought it was not possible, and here you are living a really lovely, lovely, relaxed life. And I'm just so over the moon for you. I'm so pleased with how everything has materialized for you.
And I think I just want to say one more thing. I sound like Columbo now, don't I? One more thing.
One more
what
thing.
I think is worth mentioning is that this isn't, you're not speaking to me now just after I feel like I've had the epiphany. It's quite a long time after, because, you know, anybody with a past like me in relationship with food, you think, oh, this is the perfect diet, oh, this is working this time, and then a few months, it feels real, it's cemented. It's not just 1 month after I've been intuitively eating. It's long lasting, which is the first time ever.
Yeah.
You know, that I can
amazing.
say that for 42 years or something, 40 years. Yeah.
Yeah, because actually, for context, I'm speaking to you now about 12 months after you left me. So actually, we haven't just grabbed this meeting like, oh, just before you leave, can you give me some happy words about intuitive eating? This is 12 months later after you've stopped working on it. And that's incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to
Yeah.
note that. It's long lasting.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Isn't she the best? She's so lovely. I really miss having her as part of the group. Actually, she's lovely, lovely, lovely lady. To come on a podcast and talk about your story, to talk in all honesty about food and your body is a big deal. So, Sophia, I really thank you for your time. Sophia had great results in the membership and with the personal coaching. And if you would like a little bit of what she had, or a lot of what she had, then you can have that. You just need to join Eat From Within. The link is in the show notes. Go there, find all the information. As you heard in the episode, there's 2 different tiers, so you can just have the group coaching if you want to, but if you want a little extra and if you want the mix that Sophia had with the group coaching and the personal coaching on the side, there's 2 options there for you. So go look it up. The link is in the show notes. It's the Eat From Within membership. I'd love to have you there. It's so good. Take care. I will speak to you next week. Yeah, another great episode to come, right? Ta-ra for now.